Hi, my name is Ken Hamilton, CEO of Total Tech, and I'd like to welcome you to Have You Configured It Out? Our ongoing video series highlighting key technology partners and their product offerings. In this segment, we will be further highlighting award-winning Sophos, a security software company distinguished for their ability to protect organizations of all sizes from today's most advanced cyber threats. Our video will highlight Sophos Managed Threat Detection and Response. Many thanks to all of you for watching and listening, and please don't forget to subscribe, sign up for our notifications, and please smash that like button. If you have any ideas of future videos you would like to see, please let me know in the comments below. We read all your messages. Thanks again, and I hope you enjoy this episode. All right, good afternoon and welcome to Have You Configured It Out? So excited today to have two Sophos engineers, subject matter experts. As you know, today we're focused on Sophos Managed Threat Detection and Response, a newer solution, but a very powerful solution. And so let me go ahead and introduce you to Derek Snyder and also Kris Wayman. How are you guys doing?
Thank you.
Doing good.
Good, Ken.
Thanks for having us.
All right. I'm really excited. Really appreciate the support on the series. I know that Derek and I have been working and we've done several videos now, and very happy to have Kris. Love to have you aboard with us. Very exciting. And we're very excited to talk about Sophos Managed Threat Detection and Response. I've had a lot of clients talk to us about that, and we've seen a lot of success. So great to have you guys together with us. What I wanted to do, if it's good with you guys, is let's go ahead and jump in and get started if we could, and just talk a little bit more about maybe Derek, if we could start off with Sophos, what Sophos is, what Sophos does, and then we can segue into MTR.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks again, Ken. So yeah, we've been excited with this series. It's been going great doing this. Have you configured it out? And if you've been following the series or watching, you certainly know I always start with one slide, right? Where we just give you an overview and a reminder of what Sophos does. Today we thought we'd do something a little different, so we're going to bring you this more conversational video today without all the slides and stuff. We figure you guys have been on a lot of Zooms with a lot of slides lately, probably. So we thought we'd do something a little different. So what does Sophos do, though? I still want to just speak to that for a second. So if you're not familiar, you kind of forgot, we do end-to-end security and in fact beyond now, right? So from the endpoint to the firewall to public cloud. So you're beyond the perimeter there, or that's a new perimeter. And then email, mobile device management, and more of that in between. So that's kind of where we play. So keep that in mind. If you have other opportunities come up, other needs, reach out to Ken and Total Tech, and we can always dive into more of those other solutions that we offer. But that's kind of where we play, which is end-to-end across the board. So, and we're excited to talk to you about managed threat response today.
Awesome, fantastic, Derek. And you know, the exciting part is that people have become more and more aware of the threats, the threat vectors, and how Sophos can really protect that from the firewall perspective down to the endpoint, and now managed threat detection and response. And Derek, since you know we were talking about, and our focus today is managed threat detection and response, let's talk about what is MTR. Can you talk and drill down a little bit on that?
Yeah, great question, right? Since that's what we're talking about today. So the term MTR, managed threat response, the kind of the industry term, if you will, the Gartner category is managed detection and response, MDR. At Sophos, we call ours MTR. So that's why you'll hear us refer to it as MTR, managed threat response. And it's really, the way we like to frame it out is it's our best protection release, right? So you've seen our videos and heard about InterceptX. The next step up in protection is managed threat response service, which includes all of it that we're going to talk about today, including InterceptX. So really what it is, though, it's fusing machine learning with expert-led analysis, right? So we're kind of combining the two. So they can take targeted action against any sophisticated threats they might come across in your environment. And we're doing this 24/7, utilizing threat hunting, detections, remediation for this service. And that remediation piece that I just mentioned, so that's a key differentiator for us. When compared to many of the other vendors kind of in this space, most of them are not remediating at all their tiers for their offerings like we do. So keep that in mind as well. But so managed threat response is what MTR is, and it's Sophos personnel in a SOC, essentially monitoring your environment 24/7.
Excellent. That was the last piece I was going to put together, is that not only with your AI and deep learning, which has been out there a long time and absolutely fantastic, but also it's got the eyeballs on the screens and the bodies as far as processing through, actually being proactive, right, in their attack. So when I think about MTR, I think a lot about how, and Kris, maybe you can answer this. Why might someone want or need MTR? Can we speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think when you look at the security landscape as a whole, you would be hard pressed to find anybody that said it hasn't changed significantly in the last 18 months or 2 years. And even, if you look at the last decade, just it's crazy how many paradigm shifts there really have been in the industry, and the adversaries, what the tools and techniques that they're using. So where we sit today, kind of where MTR was born into, is a world of IT personnel that are overworked, in a lot of ways overtooled. There's too much stuff, there's too much noise in the industry. And then you've got adversaries that are more advanced and persistent than they've ever been. So you kind of have this perfect storm of not knowing where to look, not having the time to do it, and not being trained up, even if you had the time to really have the expertise to do it. And then add in the 24/7 nature of it to be able to do it effectively. I mean, security isn't a spectator sport. So in this, you can't just say, I'm going to go do a threat hunt on a Friday afternoon and call it good. You have to be looking at it holistically all the time to be effective. So that's really where MTR kind of comes in. And that's why this is a thing in the industry, is because you as the IT administrator or systems administrator or IT director, you're doing a lot of jobs already. And to do cybersecurity effectively at your organization, really the foundational blocking and tackling of making sure there's not any adversarial actions in your environment, you have to do that unerringly on Thanksgiving, on Christmas,
Right.
on Friday after you clock out, whatever it might be.
It's never ending. And Kris, it's something that I think you brought up that's so powerful, as you guys know, and hopefully our customers, and we'll talk about that in the future, and people watching these videos know, we have provided and continue to provide full and supplementary outsourced IT. And what we're hearing and seeing much more is larger IT organizations with those exact issues, Kris. These are organizations that are so overwhelmed that you're lucky to get 5 or 10 minutes from them just to get them through what you need to get them through, because they are so busy and so buried that they don't have the time to get what they need to get done, during their 8 or 10 hour window. And then you add security on top of that. And then I imagine that there is some type of financial side to that as it pertains to customers as well. Do they have a budget for a security resource? Are they prepared for that? Most times they don't.
Even if they have the budget for one, that means you get a person working. I don't know, maybe you really abuse them and they work like 6 to 9. They're still going to sleep. They're still going to take time off. To really to build out your own internal SOC. It's 4 to 5 people. And that's if you can find them. I mean, it doesn't matter who you look at. We have millions of people that we're short of security professionals in the world. So it's very much in line with what you're talking about, Ken.
Absolutely. And so when we talk about MTR and we talk about we see where the need is and where we can really help. Derek, I mean, when we talk about MTR as a whole, how does MTR work? How is it deployed? What is how does the system
kind of the process work? Good question. So couple different ways to kind of approach that. So I know a lot of your customers, right, have Sophos on the endpoint already. So if they already have Sophos, it makes it super easy. If you're familiar with the console, again, this would be a good point to remind you again later. Reach out to Ken. We can dive into more details of MTR later, and I could screen share, kind of show you how that setup works. But simply in the console there, when you click on computers, there's a managed device button. they simply click on it and they slide over the computers that are eligible for MTR, and it goes ahead and deploys them during the next update. So nothing extra to deploy. The technology's there. It's just really licensing and sliding that over in the console. And then they would, if they're not a Sophos customer already, they're going to go through our typical endpoint deployment. So that'd be the entire agent doing a deployment, pretty easy to do with, GPO is the most common way, or SCCM, or whatever their preferred method at that point is. And then for setup, they're just setting up their contact information for that MTR team. So those guys in the SOC know who to call, who to reach out to if they need to. So it's a primary, secondary, and tertiary contact. They set up that information in Sophos Central, so it's all contained in there. And then they choose their response mode. So those response modes being notify, collaborate, or authorize. So notify, we would just notify you, right? If you have the team and the expertise and the time. If you do, I don't know why you would have us. So most of our customers aren't using notify too often. I would say notify is probably used more often if you have a very sensitive environment. Maybe something like that, and you don't want us maybe taking some of those quick actions. But notify or collaborate is the next option, where we will notify you and then work with you to help decide what are the appropriate actions. You have an option there to have us authorize as well. So that authorize is the third option for you, and that's where we take action on your behalf, right? So at 2 a.m., there's some suspicious activity. We can go ahead and neutralize that threat quickly. Without waking you up, without having to notify you and all of that. We can quickly take that action, protect your data, your environment, and all of that, and then we get you all the reporting back, which I think we might have some reporting stuff later. If we don't, it would be another good one. If we did a demo later on another call, or someone was interested, I could give you a peek at what some of that reporting looks like. But there's weekly and monthly reports, as well as kind of a root cause analysis if you want. If there's an active incident that we neutralize and you need some forensics, we'll give you that whole kind of report on everything that happened in the attack in an email as well.
Yeah, excellent.
I hope that answers.
It does, and it's very comprehensive as well, the options that you have, right? Notify, collaborate, and authorize. So you have that flexibility, but in either fashion, there are eyeballs, so to speak, on the screen. There is the staff there. There's the deep learning and the technology that Sophos has, combined with the InterceptX functions and features. One of the things I wanted to jump in real quick and make a comment to is that we have been Sophos partners for a long time, and I had the great opportunity to be on part of the beta process years ago for Sophos MTR. And one of the things that I really liked about it is that while we have engineers and certified folks, and we do a lot of implementations and policy reviews with clients, there was still some great feedback that they gave us on some potential fine tuning. And I thought that was very great as well during the implementation process and the go live process of MTR. So I thought that was very exciting.
Real quick, and just on that point, there's a whole onboarding process, and part of that will include sort of a health check, if you will, or a best practice, where they will let you know that MTR team will take a look at your policies and exclusions you have in your console and all that, like you just alluded to, and let you know, hey, we see some risky exclusions here, or some key protections disabled, and you'll want to get those enabled. So that's another benefit. As you're onboarding, they will do that. They'll look at your policies and exclusions and all of that, and make sure it's kind of in the best practice.
Fantastic. No, no, absolutely, that's right, in the onboarding. And so that being said, is that so with MTR now, how is the data collected? How does that process work? Is an additional agent or something installed, and then it goes through a routine? And can you talk a little bit about that, Derek and Kris, or both of you?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll start, and then maybe if Kris had anything. But yeah, great question. So it's a question I get pretty frequently, right? Is there a second agent? First of all, the answer to that one is no.
Okay.
Like I said earlier on the deployment piece, it's just on part of the InterceptX agent, right? It utilizes that. So no second agent. And then the other piece is, are we are we looking at Intercept X events? Is that all we're doing? Are we just monitoring the events and alerts from Sophos Central, right? And are we managing those? So we're not managing those alerts. This is really above and beyond what Sophos Central Intercept X is doing, right? So Intercept X is a great tool. It blocks, it'll clean up, do all that auto remediation, right? It's a great tool. As Kris talked about earlier, there is that need for humans, right, to do analysis and stuff as well. And that's where the NPR piece comes in, which goes above and beyond Intercept X, even deeper. So we're looking at much more telemetry than just Intercept X. We will utilize those events, security events in Sophos Central and from Intercept X, kind of as trailheads and as part of investigations and things. But really the bulk of the information is coming from queries that these teams will run, kind of in the form of two different types of queries. So you're looking at live queries and scheduled queries. So the scheduled queries are more of a broad-based query, if you will. So they're being used more for detections and searching. And then live queries are more of a targeted search. So maybe something as part of a threat hunt or part of a investigation or incident response. They're looking for something specific. So they might run a live query for something specific that they know they're looking for, very targeted. And then when it comes to the actual data that we're collecting, we're looking at, as I mentioned, a lot of different telemetry. So things like Windows event logs, failed login attempts, information on tasks and services, and browser add-ons, and patching, and processes, connections, right, on and on. So it's a lot of telemetry that they're able to look at. And then also utilizing Sophos Central, as well as our XG, the next-gen firewall that we have. Sometimes if you don't want to use it as a firewall, we'll call it a network visibility appliance, but you can drop it in line, so you don't have to change out your firewall if you don't want. But it gives this team more telemetry, more visibility into your network when you have that network visibility appliance as well. Not required, but does provide some nice extra visibility. We call that a connector. It's kind of built in, nothing extra really to do there. But so, yeah, a lot of extra telemetry there, and those queries is how we pull that in. Kris, anything else you want to add on the data collection side?
Yeah, I would say because Gartner has a category for this, odds are your watchers have maybe heard some about this. So it probably would be helpful to understand a little bit how what we do is different. And you guys have both talked about Intercept X and the AI components, the machine learning components in there. The reason that's important for MTR is because when you look at how a SOC is able to take response actions for you, or to even just notify you of what's going on in most cases that our competitors do, you look at what's called the signal to noise ratio. So what's the amount of usable signals that are coming out of how much noise gets thrown at you? So Intercept X for us weeds out a ton of noise, just all the stuff that we proactively convict. It's the reason that we have, consistently the top rated protection in the world. What that does is enables our team to respond faster for any indicators of compromise or suspicious behavior on stuff that we need to respond to. So you may be thinking, why would I care that it makes your SOC team their life easier because we're weeding out noise? Fundamentally, what you really care about as a consumer of this service is how long does it take you to detect something, and then how long does it then take you to respond to it? So all of that stuff Derek talked about, and the reason that this is all built in Intercept X and we use that as a foundation for this is because it provides us a platform to give you the fastest service that we can. And when you start talking about actual events and adversarial combat things, hands on keyboard, if you ever get to that point, minutes matter. It's very important to be able to respond to this stuff quickly.
That's a good point. And the signal to noise ratio you're mentioning just kind of belabors the point that we started with earlier too, is if you try to do this yourself, you have no way to filter that out really, right? You're going to get all the noise, all the logs from all your sources. And it's just so much data that someone, even an expert, would have to sift through, right? Absolutely. So our guys in the SOC love Intercept X because it cuts down on that information, right? They're getting the real meat that they need to be alerted to and conduct these investigations. So that's a great point.
Yeah, no, absolutely fantastic point, and it makes perfect sense because your focus is on your rapid response. And I think that's an absolute key piece, and that Sophos does so very well. So excellent stuff. Now, Derek, I mean, what do you actually see? What comes in when you talk about the types of data? Is it user data, host details? What kind of things do you that come through, Derek, or again, Kris, whichever?
Yeah. I'll give kind of high level, and if Kris has color, being
right.
kind of our subject matter expert on MTR on the call today, I'll let him fill in some details. But
excellent.
yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of telemetry, like we said, but the noise is cut down, so they get a lot of the information they need. Threat details, like you mentioned, things like user information, host details, details from the host itself, processes, connections, all those things that are involved in the threat are kind of some of the information that team will see. Maybe to give an example, and then, again, Kris can kind of maybe jump in, but to give an example of maybe what that looks like, a detection alone might not be enough, right? That might not be enough for us to really review anything, take any action. But if we look at kind of the historical, if you will, context, right? This is what the human's able to do, is put this context to it. So maybe one day we see something like IP config being used, and then we also see PowerShell trying to execute a script. And then the next day or a few days later, we might see something like system info used or scconfig or who am I, right? So by themselves, these are pretty legitimate actions and activities that could be taking place in a normal environment. But when you kind of add them up and correlate them, and you have an expert analyst doing that, right? They can see that someone might actually be doing some reconnaissance work. They might be trying to establish some persistence and kind of readying to launch an attack, right? Or move across the network laterally, something like that. So that's kind of what we see. Before we talk about maybe what actions we take, Kris, is there anything more along the lines you want to add for what we see?
Yeah, I think those are really interesting points from like a tool perspective. I'll tell you kind of stories from the front line. And Ken, you mentioned rapid response. It's actually the name of our incident response service. So if you have a really bad day, you can call us in and we can work and do triage and remediation. I think we may actually do a session on that down the line. But a lot of the stuff that I see from this in our service, I get real world experience with our customers that are going through and kind of working with our SOC teams to understand what we're able to pull. So some of the stuff that when we talk about you have to do this consistently, it's like all of the tooling that Derek is talking about, but it's also are there anomalous logins for users? Like understanding a user's responsibility and role in an organization, their place in the universe. Would they normally do this kind of thing? That can be really helpful to understand. And then seeing stuff like weird files getting dropped in system directories or places that no user is ever going to save something, but we know that adversaries a lot of times will take actions by dropping things in a place that you might not happen into over the course of your daily work, right? So it's not just PowerShell, who am I, am I an administrator, that kind of stuff. That's absolutely going to get scored and we're going to do event correlation on it. But it's also looking at illegitimate uses of anything legitimate in your environment that could be used by an adversary to execute an attack or data exfiltration or any number of other bad things that hopefully only end up in your incident response planning that you don't have to go through. But that's really, when you look at what the service is built around, it's detection of an event or an attack and neutralizing it before it becomes a breach. And so it's pretty all-encompassing of what we're looking at.
Excellent. No, absolutely. And a lot of that, what I extrapolate from you guys are saying, pulling back a little bit, is that the tools and technology of Sophos with the base framework of InterceptX Advanced with MTR, all of these tools provide a much more proactive approach for MTR and the MTR team so that they can quickly react and effectuate and be able to functionally solve those threats and those issues. And I think the beauty of that is that the efficiency, and I think you went back and talked about that as well, is how important it is, not necessarily from the Sophos perspective, although it is, in order to be able to deliver the fast and effective service, because I know from experience, from being CTO, director, manager of IT and technology historically, that when these things happen, it is critical. And when you're looking at your senior manager, CEO, or whoever's eyeballs, and they're wondering what the heck is going on, then we have that ability to react and execute. I think the beauty is that with Sophos MTR is the proactiveness of what happens and how quickly that you're able to get to that point so that the threat is cut off. I have stories upon stories upon stories that I could tell you from delivering managed IT, where I come into an account and they tell me the story that their CTO received an email from their CEO telling them that it's okay to transfer that $250,000 to this account. And they transfer the $250,000 to that account, and the CEO says, I never sent you an email, right? So there are different vectors, different opportunities for different threats to happen in your environment. And having a solution like MTR really helps deliver that 24/7 watch solution so that our clients and our customers can sleep at night, and our partners on the IT side and the technology side know that they've got a partner and they've got a brother beside them fighting the fight with them and making sure that their issues get solved right away. Now, when we talk about what do we see in that drill down, and we talked about the telemetry, I wanted to talk a little bit more, Kris, and maybe you could speak to this on, they say that, what you get, you want to be able to understand and see what's happening in your environment. So on the reporting side, what kind of reporting capabilities and what's delivered in the MTR service for Sophos in reference to reporting, and or if there's a review and all of those things. Can you drill down a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I would say this is another interesting place to differentiate Sophos a little bit in the industry. MDR, kind of as the overall umbrella, has been what I will call fairly opaque. There's not sometimes a lot of transparency in what you're getting out of a service. So we have reporting in weekly and monthly and reports of here's what we saw, here's maybe some proactive posture improvements, here's detections that you need to be aware of. When you have maybe an acute incident that we have to go drill in on, and we've had an escalated report one of our analysts has done something with, we actually publish our investigative framework. It's not a Sophos original. It's actually, I believe, originated with the military, called an OODA loop. That's one of those things that Derek can help walk you through, that if you need help and you want to see what it looks like, that's the transparency we try to provide to you. Is we took an action on your behalf. Why did we do that? Because the reporting is great and you can see here's all the detections we did or anything like that. But on the day-to-day, when you're authorizing us to take an action on your behalf to neutralize a process or block an IP address or do something that's more on the offensive side of security to make sure that an adversary isn't doing something, it's really important for us to make sure that you know why we did something. So we expose that to you in our investigative framework, not only so you can learn from it and kind of see what's gone on and understand what we're doing to help and maybe harden some of your security hygiene somewhere else. It's also so that we can make sure that you have confidence in the actions that we were taking. It's a measurable workflow. So we have a bunch of different analysts. You get a consistency across the board. That's all in the reporting of an escalation as well. So you get weekly, monthly escalation reports, and then we're also always innovating in that front. So I would expect to see some other interesting things and apps and different stuff to be able to furnish more, because kind of like you can, sometimes it's all about, what are you doing for me today? Show me what you've done. Let's see what's going on. And that we get that that's part of the service too.
Fantastic. So when I think about these pieces and these parts and Sophos as a whole and where they play in the market, and then delivering the Sophos managed threat response, it's a real holistic piece at the end of the day to be able to deliver to these clients for their peace of mind. And it's great, Derek, having you and Kris here to talk to us and giving us the ability to say, okay, I have a better understanding now of what happens when the button gets pushed, what happens when that red alert goes off from Sophos, and how things are executed. And I think that it's good for the folks to understand that what's happened here is that building the efficiency, building the platform of Sophos to be able to deliver a solution and differentiate that solution so that clients have a solution that they can count on, that they understand that's fast and easy, and the responsiveness is there every time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Absolutely fantastic stuff, guys. Let's see. I don't know that I have any other questions right now. Do you want to finish it off? Derek, do you have any other feedback or final thoughts on this? I think this is a lot of fun, guys.
Yeah, it was fun doing interview style here and conversational style. I think I'll close with this though. Kris alluded to it, rapid response, and Ken did. So I think we'll do another session on that, probably short little video. But important to remember as we close out today, if you have any active incidents and you need some incident response services, call Ken, and he will get us on the line, and we can take care of you, during those active incidents. Whether you're a Sophos customer or not, let Ken know. We can jump on that in a matter of minutes. Kris can testify to that when he's woke up at different hours of the evening. But we'll dive into more in that rapid response. But I did want you guys just to know, if you do have an active incident, call Ken, and Sophos will jump on and help you out and work through that with you. So
fantastic.
If you have more questions on the MTR, let Ken know. We can set up, again, another deep dive if we need, or help clarify things for you. So thanks for having us again, Ken. Thanks for joining, Kris.
Everything. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it, Kris. Great to have you aboard.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep, love the youth in the house. I think that's a fantastic thing for Derek and I. And guys, we look forward to doing many more of these videos for our Have You Configured It Out program. Thank you guys so much, and do appreciate your time today.
Cheers.
All right. Thanks, everyone.